yeah, Polt's probably number 1, and then Elazer would probably end up being around the number 32 spot. So it's basically the best versus Elazer, who's come along here and shown great games.
I mean, just to put things in perspective, Elazer has already earned more money with this WCS season than he's done in his career otherwise. Like, he has never had a run like this. He's never participated for this amount of money. It's already been great for him, but it could be legendary. It could be very big. And, you know, he has played extremely well against Major. And you know, I don't think that he has no hope over here. I truly believe he has a shot. Of course, he's going to have to play his absolute best, and things are going to have to go his way. You always need a little bit of lady luck on your side as well, especially when you go up against a titan like Polt. But I don't think it's impossible.
Yeah, it's... For Polt, though, I mean, he is a man with a mission right now. After losing that first series of the day, he's got to be a furious tiger bottled up inside and is just looking to unleash it and move on, because if he were to go out in the round of 32, unprecedented, absolutely unprecedented.
That would be the first time ever.
Yeah.
In 8 seasons of WCS, it would be the first time ever that Polt does not advance to the round of 16.
Well, let's get on with it then. It's going to be our final series of the day as we have challenger against champion. Up to the top left-hand corner, it's our blue Terran representing CM Storm. It is Polt. Down to the bottom right-hand corner, it's our red Zerg representing Team Extreme Supremacy. It is Elazer.
Now I wonder if we're going to see something very wild of Elazer in this series. Earlier today he showed us that he's perfectly fine of playing macro. He called himself the European Life, and that is definitely a little bit represented in his playstyle. I wouldn't quite say it's as refined as Life can do it, but you know, always looking for counterattacks, always looking for an opportunity to get a few Zerglings in, going for those run-bys, trying to intercept some reinforcements. It was definitely a very Life-ish style, and it's very fun to watch because it's very action-packed. Wouldn't be too crazy though to completely switch it up in at least one of these games against Polt and go for maybe a Roach Bane all-in or something similar.
Yeah. I think out in the crowd or watching elsewhere, Todd is a big fan of the Aladdin film. And from that, I think there is one line...
Where's this going, James?
It's a bit of an odd start, I don't know. There is one line from that that kind of rings true with, I feel, a player like Elazer, and it's diamond in the rough. He is someone who, you know, you're saying, you know, he's a little bit rough around the edges when it comes to those kind of play styles or whatever, but if he's able to kind of oil that and make that perfect, then he could really go places, Elazer.
There's definitely a lot of potential in this young player. He's already shown us today that it was no fluke that he has qualified for WCS Premier League after defeating Showtime in that surprising challenger match. But, you know, he's been like, hey, I belong here. I can mess with the big boys, and I feel like I can play, and I have what it takes to maybe even go further. And I think even that last series, you know, you look at it and you see TLO as 1-2-0, but if you take a closer look at the games, game number 1, Elazer was in a pretty okay-ish position. If he wins game number 1, maybe we're looking at a completely different series. And of course, StarCraft 2 is often a game where one battle, one engagement can completely change the way an entire WCS day plays out.
Yeah. Completely. I mean, even today, it's already completely changed to what my expectations were of this group.
I'm glad we didn't do predictions today, James, because I would have not done very well at all.
No, I don't think most people would have. I really don't. Well, Reapers are on the way now across the map. Actually, only just the one being produced straight into that reactor as well.
That really seems to be the flavor of the month for Polt. He was very fond of the 3 Reaper opening at the previous map pool, the one that he won in the Premier League Season 1. Made 3 Reapers in, I think, 5 out of 7 games against Hydra, so that's pretty damn consistent. The other 2 games, it was a CC first. And now it's just a single Reaper. He's been doing it 2 games against TLO, actually 3 games in a row against TLO, and now he's doing it once more against Elazer. So Polt has apparently found something in the 3 Reaper opening that he's not a big fan of, that he thinks is a big weakness. Because, you know, if there's one map to probably do it, it would still be Coda, because this is just a great map for Reapers.
Yeah, jumping all around, jumping about, and trying to get some damage done. He almost got himself a drone, but obviously these lings came out in time. Likewise, they've bought enough time, and he didn't lose a ling for that queen to get out as well.
I thought you were going to sing Jump Around, Jump Around.
It's been a long time since I listened to that song. I really should.
No, you shouldn't. Like, it's actually very annoying. It's like one of these songs you listen to, like, I know this song, and then you listen to it for 30 seconds. This song is really annoying. Overlord Scout, he should not die over here. Yeah, that would be very silly, and these Marines won't be able to get in range. Well, he's going to try, but there's a little bit of... Actually, if you're Marines on the high ground, you can still shoot. He might be... No, he shouldn't.
Oh.
If that was a Stalker, then
Go left.
if it was a Stalker, he would have killed it. But the
Gonna
Marine,
die?
no, it's not gonna.
Oh.
18 HP. That would have been a disastrous start, by the
Yeah.
way. That's one of those small things that will really get to you. And it's just like you start shaking your head and you're like, oh man, like I have played Coda against Terran probably around 500 times already, and I've never lost my first Overlord against 2 Marines like that. Why did I do that? So I'm very glad for Elazer that's not happening. This is a very similar Bolt. Bolt. That's like a mix between Polt and his build. A Bolt. It's kind of cool.
Perfect.
No, it's a very similar build to what he showed us earlier today against TLO, and it really didn't do all that well. This time it's going to be a Banshee follow-up. Some of the previous games we saw him get a very quick stim. But this time it's going to be a Banshee, may even be a Cloak Banshee opening.
It definitely could be. These links just causing a bit of an issue, at least keeping these Hellions back at the moment, as they won't be able to do a whole lot about that. Now, I'm wondering from there on out, with the Banshee now on the way, if he eventually gets into the Viking afterwards so that he can start clearing up Overlords, because there are quite a few on the map in juicy places.
There are quite a few guys around the map, but I don't think Elazer, is too worried about that yet. He just wants to make sure he doesn't take crazy economic damage from anything that Polt is going to try to throw at him. We see the Baneling Nest being added as well. There is no Leia yet, right? Or am I mistaken? Right?
Just
okay,
started.
he just started it. That's kind of late. That's a little later than we've seen in some of these other games. He has a lot of queens over here. He has that static defense as well that Todd mentioned in one of his other games, where he said he wonders why not more Zerg players do it. It can definitely be very useful. Now these Reapers and these Hellions will start working on this hatch, but should not have enough DPS to seriously harm it.
And for now, Elazer here looks to be going down just a normal game. I mean, it's interesting to see if he's going to continue that on.
Like, I mean, this is very different for Polt in the way that what he's facing, because when he was doing this against TLO was sticking on 2 bases, and that makes it a lot harder for Polt, because then all of the queens and the spine crawler is standing on top of a ramp. Do you really want to go for it? Well, once he did it, and both games it didn't go that well for him. But now Elazer is already spreading himself thin over 3 bases, so it's going to be very difficult for our Polish Zerg to not take any damage over here whatsoever. We don't have an armory though, correct? So these Hellbats can possibly morph into or Hellions can morph into Hellbats, so that's going to make his life a little bit easier. He has quite a few Zerglings on the way, and the first Banelings are morphing as well. The Spire is being thrown down right now. I do still feel like if you're Polt, you want to do some damage, right? Like, he made 8 Hellions.
Yeah, you really want to try and find something, even if it's just creep tumors. I mean, he gets one of them there, but it's not much. It's really not much. They're not doing a whole lot.
He has to be hoping for more. I think he was waiting for the second Banshee. Oh, this is a bad moment, I think, for these queens to go off creep, because now 2 Banshees are going to swing in over here from the left side. Cloak is being activated as well. First queen does not go down. Transfuse being used.
Whoa.
Second transfuse going down as well. Elazer.
Oh my god. He saved every single one of them. Very, very well done. Good use of transfuse, just in the nick of time. And now, well, they're still around to the Banshees, and he doesn't have vision there, unfortunately, and no energy on the second queen to drop that transfuse.
That's the first mistake he made over there. Took a lot of damage from one queen, lost the other one, and those queens didn't even have to stand there. Good job there by Polt. Will get one volley off. He's going to lose one of his Banshees. Another transfuse going down. So in the end, it's 2 queens for 1 Banshee. But of course, these Hellions and Reapers are still alive as well. And Elazer definitely has to be very cautious about those guys.
Not really slowing too much down of what we're seeing over at Polt's side of things. He's even clearing up all of this creep that was well spread initially here by Elazer, but that's really put a stunt on that growth. So he's keeping an eye on the third base, yes, but Polt has no ideas and intentions of going over there just yet.
And honestly, I think Elazer handled this pretty well. Like, he lost a few minerals, but he didn't really lose any gas, was never forced to use defensive Banelings, didn't end up losing a whole lot of drones. Like, he lost 4 drones throughout the entirety of this game. I think he's quite okay with this. Of course, he would love to get better creep spread, especially, I mean, we've seen it, and like Pig has mentioned it as well. Getting your creep spread near the Zelnaga Watchtower in this map is extremely important for Zerg. It's just going to make your life so much easier. From this point on, he will finally be able to start working on creep. Polt's trademark Viking is not going to be very successful this game. I think this went pretty damn well for our Polish Zerg. He really didn't take a whole lot of damage. He's going to get his Mutalisk out, has 3 bases, relatively well saturated with 57 drones. Not bad, I'd say.
Yeah, his economy's okay. He started 1-1 himself. 1-1 for Polt is rapidly approaching completion, though. There's these Mutalisks, well, there's only 5 or 6 of them, so they can't do too much in that area just yet.
It's going to be it's going to be closer to 10 soon. I believe he still has an Overseer, or no, actually he doesn't have an Overseer. We saw earlier today, we saw some Contaminate being used on factories, and I think that was quite smart to delay the Widowmine production, because this army right now, especially if you don't have Baneling speed, it's very hard to engage any sort of setup which is strengthened by Widowmines.
We're gonna have to flee on back here, and actually this is posing quite a threat. There's plenty of banelings there. It should be totally okay to at least force that away and could try and pursue on against the boost, but there'll always be some reinforcing Marines coming along to protect that, because Polt is no slouch.
No, but Polt is playing very good so far as well. He's definitely not being sloppy. These Zerglings over here were able to counterattack a little bit and get a couple of SCVs. It's just 4, so that's not massive. You have slow Bailings. They're way overextending. I don't think he should be making plays like this. Elazer, not before Bailing speed at least. Polt is way too good. There is no way slow Bailings off creep will ever connect with Marines. That was definitely an overcommitment by the Polish side.
A huge punishment here from Polt, just not really letting up. Once he sees that in the middle, as you said, he's not going to let it go at all. It's funny because as much as he did get those SCVs before, and I was about to say, that counterattacks begin, I don't know whether he's going to let that continue on, because he's already walling off the third base, despite these Lings moving up there, slowly but surely getting there.
And the biggest problem is just that there's no creep whatsoever in the fourth base, so it's going to be towards the fourth base and towards the middle of the map. So that's going to make it so difficult for Elazer to get good trades over here. He's going to drop a couple of creep tumors over here, but Polt can just parade push towards the center of the map. He can start spreading his Widow Mines all over the place. I love the SimCity he's got going for himself over here as well. And it's going to be a very difficult hold over here. Well, a couple of Banelings connect with the Hellbats. Man, that one mine was so close to detonating on all those Banelings. That would have been a catastrophe if that would have happened. But this is a difficult hold, man. It's going to be so easy for Poist to reinforce his position. And how is Elazer going to break this?
Only has 10 Banelings at the moment, morphing in a few more here to try and hold this off. They do fly in, but it's really not getting the connections he wants at the moment. He has 11 left over.
And the drilling clause is on the way as well. He's getting a few actually reasonable connections, even better than I expected. Of course, Bailing speed helps there a little bit, but you know, he needs more. And I must say, I was really blown away by Elazer early today when he was macroing as a major, that he always had Bailings ready. There was never a moment where he was suddenly like on 0 Bailings. He always had a few morphing, then he would engage, and then he had a few more morphing. Makes it very hard for a Terran to truly push. Widowmine gets a couple of Bailings over there, but I mean, so far Polt is controlling his army extremely well, and he's just seeing this one out until 2-2 is ready, and then he can start training very effectively. And well, if he starts 3-3, then obviously the clock is on his side, and then Elazer is truly in a position where he has to make something happen.
It was a strong pickup before he was able to get those units out before they took friendly fire, and now once again he's going to try and cram straight into this location, but he loses a lot more Bailings once again, as well as Zerglings to these Widowmines, and this position for Polt is extremely well set up.
Yeah, and I mean, Polt is not stressing the issue too much right now. I mean, he's outmining his opponent. They're even on economy, but of course that triple orbital command is going to give Polt quite a bit of a boost. He has the control of the Zelnaga Watchtower. He has a great SimCity at home, so he doesn't have too much to worry about counterattack. Bailing's getting a few reasonable connections, but never enough for Elazer to say like, all right, F2, let's go, let's grab everything.
Yeah, and I don't think he ever started his 2-2 either, did Elazer. So as 2-2 is about to finish here for Polt, he's going to get all the harder.
Try. I think this is the moment where he truly is going to try.
And he's going to try, yeah, that's for sure. The thought at the front is actually going to get destroyed off, but at the same time, there's still quite a few Marines left over with even some more Widowmines and reinforcement. But here come the Banelings again. As you say, he already has some in reinforcement, but another Baneling detonation from that Widowmine actually catches a lot of them. And here come more reinforcements for Polt. I'm thinking that Elazer's just been worn down a little bit too much here.
I mean, right now the upgrades are kicking in for Polt. It's just so much easier for him to take trades like this. He doesn't have a 4th command center, right? Does he? That's actually something that we noticed as well last month, that he's delaying that one for quite a bit. Of course, he can always float it over later if he wants to. Like, eventually, Polt does want to do more than what he's doing so far, because a triple orbital Terran is rich, but it's also not that rich that you can do this for the rest of the time. He's picking up a lot of units. He's not moving the medevac. Is he going to lose one of the medevacs that's full of Marines? No, he doesn't. I felt that went okay-ish for Elazer. I think Polt was perhaps at home macroing up a little bit, as he did just start his 3-3 upgrades.
Power of the boost, but the thing is, again, these trades keep going Polt's way in terms of the resources actually lost here. Still 2-2 not started for Elazer. Still, now even 3-3 is approaching here for Polt. Another engagement comes down. Not enough Zerglings, not enough Banelings to try and break this location just yet.
Yeah, a few of those trades, they all seem okay, but if you take a look at the supply, it just never really is in Elazer's favor. And those upgrades, like, Elazer is not in a position to saturate his fourth base. He's not in a position to send his Mutalists to the other side of the map, because he knows he will immediately lose his fourth base, gets okay-ish connections there, but he's just defending, and you never just want to defend.
Able to save that 4 with, like, barely any health left, keeping that alive to be a constant threat to those Mutalists. And as he keeps pushing forward, he's lost so many of his Mutalists. There you go. go GG. It's the nail in the coffin when you're down that far. And you're right, never being able to saturate that fourth base, he never had the economy to be able to start the 2-2, despite having to have all those units out to be able to greet that fight as well. So really, really brutal stuff. I think Elazer knows how much he was up against it in that game.
Yeah, I mean, in the end, it's upgrades as well. You can truly see Polt just getting better and better at trades. And, you know, as a Zerg, when you play Mutaling Bane, the last thing you ever want to do is just, like, sit in front of your fort base and, you know, like, sort of try to defend, but you know you're not getting your extra upgrades. You don't have, like, ultras on the way or anything, like, even remotely close to that. You never just want to sit on Mutaling Bane and only defend and then somehow try to break it. Like, sometimes things can go your way if you, like, if your opponent is not paying attention and a few bailing skill, a few more Marines than they were supposed to, and maybe Widow Mines do some friendly fire. Like, if he breaks out one time, then the entire game changes, because then he can start spreading creep, he can start taking map control, he can start actually pushing Polt back and create problems on Polt's side of the map. But right now, he was just not possible. Like, the moment the Mutas would fly to the main base, Polt would be like, okay, funny, you know, like, kill a reactor, I'll kill your fort base, and like, what are you gonna do then, Zerg?
Not a whole lot, not a whole lot. All right, we're gonna go to one short break here before we get into game number 2 between Polt and Elazer. potentially one final game of the night here, as Polt so far leading 1-0 against Elazer, and in that game he looked damn good.
Yeah, he really did. And he also didn't make the mistakes that he made earlier today, trying to push the issue too hard with his Hellions. Like, this time he kept them alive, and even when they didn't do that much, they prevented the creep tours from spreading towards the middle of the map, which is so important on Coda. And also, by the time that the first engagement happens, like, yeah, those Hellions didn't do a whole lot, but at least he traded them for 4, 5, 6 banelings, which is a lot better than running them into the natural and trading them for like 3 Zerglings and not getting any drones. So Polt is being pretty cautious over here, playing it out very careful, as Apollo would say. But looking damn solid, looking like the WCS Premier League Season 1 champion.
And Elazer, once again here, if he can somehow push through, if he can battle through and defeat the Season 1 champion, that would be an absolutely miraculous result from him. But now is Cactus Valley here, Rotterdam, and this is a map I don't even think we've seen once today, have we?
No, I don't think we've seen it once, and I have to be frankly honest with you, or completely honest with you, I haven't casted a whole lot of ZVTs on this map yet. It's one of these maps that, even on ladder, when you don't veto it, you still don't play it a whole lot, and most of the time when I do, it's in PvP, or sometimes PvT, but I don't really see a whole lot of TVZs on it.
All right, well, let's get into things up to the top left-hand corner. Could potentially be the last time we see him here in WCS Season 2. It is TES Elazer. Had a great showing today. Great showing.
Absolutely. Definitely made a name for himself and made this a very memorable day of WCS already. And it's not over yet.
And finally up to the top right-hand corner, it's our Season 1 champion of the World Championship Series. It is Polt.
For Polt, round of 32 is normally just another day at the office, but this is one of these days where it's a rough day at the office, Kalaris. Your coffee just didn't taste the same. Your lads didn't want to join you for a cheeky Nando's. It's not an easy day at the office for Polt today, but in the end, he may still bring it home.
He may. He's looking good at the moment in this series. Up against Elazer.
You know, I'm looking at this map, right, Kalaris, and I'm looking at the way that Elazer has played his previous ZVTs, and I can actually see this play out quite well for him. Cactus Valley, needless to say, is a very large map. It's also a map with a ridiculous amount of attack paths. It's very doable, I think, for Zerg players to flank Terrans, but let's not forget, if Polt takes his third base down the south, let's say at 3 o'clock, then it's going to be very easy for Zerglings and Banelings to swing via the south side, morph a couple of Banelings, run them into a mineral line. Of course, Polt is going to try to prevent this with some cute Sim City, but, you know, it's doable. If Polt takes it closer to Elazer, well, then he still has to kind of run in between, you know, the third base and the natural. And, you know, this is just not an easy map that way you say, like, all right, I'll put one Marine here and I have a Medevac there or a Viking, and I will see Zerglings coming from all directions. So I think if Elazer is able to stabilize, if he can get a good economy going for himself, I think this is a map in which he's going to feel quite comfortable.
There's obviously the big question, though, which from going from map number 1 to map number 2, and I think it's probably a difficult question to answer, is how does Elazer stop game number 1 from happening in repeat again?
Yeah. I mean, this is also, like I said, like, it's a map where flanks are possible because it's so big and Zerglings are very fast. But at the other end, there are so many choke points over here as well. And sometimes you have to run all the way around the edge. And, you know, by the time that your flanking force arrives, your main army has died. You know, it's very hard to sync those things up because it's not easy to, you know, let it all line up. He has to just make sure that Polt is not able to get a staging ground so close to his base. But, you know, this is not Coda. So if Polt wants to have some sort of a soft contain near one of Elazer's third or fourth bases, then the reinforcement distance is going to be a lot longer for Polt, which makes it a little bit easier for Elazer perhaps to intercept those reinforcements. And I think that's the way that maybe things can swing into his favor.
All right, well, let's see if Elazer can keep his cool here in the second game in a pressure situation. He's one game away from being absolutely eliminated from Season 2. As for now, the Queens are just about to pop out. He's not doing too badly with this Reaper, but hasn't got any drones just yet. Elazer's been pretty on point about defending these Reapers, actually.
If a Zerg player decides to make 4 Zerglings over here, that's very safe, and then they're not supposed to lose any drones. You could even say he's not supposed to lose any Zerglings, but losing a Zergling, or maybe even 2 Zerglings, that's not really the end of the world. You just don't want to lose drones, because the moment you lose drones, when you also made 4 Zerglings, hey, oh my god, this is not good at all.
Oh no.
He's going to lose that Overlord.
Yeah, unfortunately for him, I mean, this is the same build that Polt has been doing before, right? It's a Reaper into the 2 Marines, so he should have been expecting this.
I know, this is just kind of sloppy. I think he was a little bit too focused on microing the Zerglings at home. What? Polt? Oh my god, man, Polt is a generous god.
He is.
He is that guy that works at McDonald's and gives you an extra chicken nugget. Like I love that guy. Man, that is so kind of Polt. He did not... I think it's in range. Yeah, I think it's in range. No?
Oh. Oh,
This is
merciful Polt. I can't believe that.
that means like, guys, like, let's just stop all the fighting. This is like, do I really have to waste my ammunition on this harmless creature that's idling behind my base? I don't think it's necessary.
It's not doing us any harm. It's just...
I like this as well. As you can see,
Oh.
this was really smart by Elazer. This is one of these small things I've mentioned many times in the cast. But instead of just right-clicking on that Reaper, and like pushing that Reaper away from himself and giving Polt an alert, he move commanded on the ground until the Queen would at least get 3 or 4 shots off, so he's always able to kill it. That's one of these small things, but the last thing you want to do is push that unit away, and then suddenly Polt gets an alert. He looks at the unit and he saves it. Small things like that, good play by Elazer. Things, you know, could have been bad, but it's not bad at all.
Yeah, if you're gonna have to compensate for your job, Marine, because you didn't do it right, and now you're gonna have to stay there for the rest of your days guarding against this one lone Overlord, which will actually gain a little bit of health over time. But I mean, as soon as that Viking comes out after these Banshees, his days are over basically.
Yeah, eventually, but I mean, at least he didn't have to rebuild it right now. And, like, you just don't want to use your larva in that phase of the game for an Overlord that you were not supposed to lose. There are quite a few Hellions over here. There's once more the Cloak Banshee follow-up, of course. Polt, you know, it's funny. Because, like, I was actually talking, I think, with Pig earlier today, how there was this period in, let's say, 2013, when Polt had a lot of success in TVZ, right? When he won 2 back-to-back WCS Premier League tournaments, but he always went for the same build. And I remember a few of the Koreans back then were even a little bit annoyed with Polt that he just never switched up his build. Then at a certain point, he started struggling quite a bit in TVZ. That was also a phase where the maps became a lot worse for Terran, and Polt really started to switch it up. And I saw him play, like, often 3 different build orders, 3 completely different build orders in a best of 5, and now today it's the polar opposite again. Polt has found a new build and he's pretty much doing it. This is a ridiculous amount of Hellions though. I feel it's even 10 Hellions this time, right? Or is it just 8? Okay, 8. It just looked like a lot of Hellions. 8 Hellions and 2 Cloak Banshees once more. Good focus fire there by Elazer. He's been playing some CSGO, mate.
Yes, he has. He was able to snipe that one down pretty easily. So Baneling Nest is about to finish up. Spire is on the way as well. He is getting set up for that kind of long, stable game himself once again. But Hellions find another angle, at least get themselves 4 workers. A 5th ends up falling as well. And there's 2 extra... Oh, actually, there's a few more drones on the way. And the Banshees are in here as well, so... If he's keeping on top of his multitasking, he can get all the more.
That's not an army that you want to engage with like 12 Zerglings or something. Like, I know TLO was able to do this on Coda, but that was of course a different scenario. There was terrain working in his favor. There was a spike crawler as well. These Hellions are doing some serious work. Polt has really stepped it up a notch. You know, earlier today there are always people who said like, well, you know, TLO played well, but I really think it's just Polt playing bad. I don't really agree with that because I think that TLO just played phenomenal in this series, but you can see that Polt right now is not messing around, is not making any mistakes, and is playing very clean so far.
Yeah, he's really dragging his opponent around at this point, getting drone after drone after drone. This could be a massacre in the end. There's no detection here at all. Here comes the Overseer now just to reveal these things, but he's already got 8 workers. Banshee's going to have to screw out there. He could even just stick around and get more workers, because at this point, they've already done the damage they need to.
Polt has done this build 5 or 6 times today, but I don't think any time it has been as successful as this one. He has killed 10 workers. Of course, this is not the most economic build ever, so he is supposed to kill some drones with this. Let's not forget it. Like, let's not pretend that, like, oh, wow, Elazer, how are you losing drones? Well, it's 8 Hellions and 2 Cloak Banshees. Obviously, Polt wants to do some damage, but I do feel like still having the majority of his Hellions alive as well. It's not like he just sacrificed them, even though 1 or 2 are going to get picked off. I love how he's immediately sending the mutas to the right, trying to intercept a few of that. That's well done, but I still think that Polt is pretty pleased with how this went so far.
Yeah, definitely. He's done quite a bit. That being said, Elazer, as I said, he's replenishing. He's up to 53 workers at the moment. He's going to be up to 60 some in a bit, but his double evolution chambers are having 1-1 along the way when Polt has already got his 1-1 almost halfway complete. So those upgrades kicking in again for Polt are going to give him slight advantages later on.
Elazer has to be very careful with all of his mutalisks. This is really not a game where he can start bleeding mutalisks left and right. I'm very curious to see as well where he's going to take his 4th base. He has a little bit of creep threat going for himself. That misrally. For a second I was like, is there another unit that's going to be led alive with 1 HP? But this time Polt said, nope, not today. I wonder where Elazer is going to try to drop his 4th hatchery, because I think dropping it at 12 o'clock, that's you're asking for trouble. So yeah, he's going for 9. That makes a lot of sense. But this is a very cute play over here by Polt, just denying that. That's kind of like what Zerg normally does, you know, when they leave 1 Zergling behind to pick off an either SCV or a probe. And I was like, well, there's a Banshee on patrol. Yeah,
it's a very expensive Zergling, but it'll do. It'll do for now. As unfortunately it does end up dying off, but it delayed by quite a bit there. And even cleaning up some of this creep creep on the right-hand side is brilliant here for Polt.
Yeah, I mean, that's also the cause of that Banshee. You know, that Banshee being there forces Elazer to bring his Mutalisk all the way to the 9 o'clock position of this map. And at that moment, Polt knows, like, well, there's no way he's going to fight me without all of his Mutalisk. So I'm going to move forward and I'm going to push back these creep tumors for now.
How many Widowmines do we have at the moment? Only the 2 out just now. So I'm wondering when he starts mounting this aggression, because he's actually going for the drop down towards the bottom, which could be spotted pretty quickly by these Zerglings.
Oh, they barely missed anything. Or maybe they caught a glimpse of it.
Perhaps.
I mean, this is a great air map as well. Like, there's definitely, like, unless Polt decides to throw up like 6 or 7 missile turrets in his main base, if this Muta count keeps on climbing, and it's the first run-by of this game is a fact as well, Elazer has to be careful with his Mutas though. He's not getting too much done with it. This looked promising, but in the end, I think it was actually very good for Polt.
I'm going to clean up plenty of this now. Even the 3 Mutalisks that have died off here are quite valuable and expensive here. And Polt, open supply at the moment. Army supply 80 to 65 with 2-2 on the way very soon. As long as he cleans up this creep and starts finding a good angle to pressure on down this direction, could get scary for Elazer.
I mean, like, if Polt is able to get a staging round over here where he's really able to set himself in a comfortable position, and Zerglings will come in, Müller's going to try to intercept this. Matter of fact, he will be able to get one of them. So that's a good pickup for Elazer.
Nicely done.
Oh, no, this base is so exposed.
Yeah, there's not much here actually to deal with this. He needs to bring the units back from the natural that he had over there, but he's doing quite a bit of damage. He's actually not doing anything about this. What is going on?
He just killed 17 SCVs. His orbital is starting to run a little bit low on HP as well. He had his entire army on hold position over there.
Yeah, they were just not reacting at all. I can't imagine what he was doing there. But he lost so much because of it. A really neglectful little move there by Polt, and Elazer's more than happy to take the advantage.
Yeah, I love how he left a couple of Zerglings and Banelings behind over there as well. I do think it's very important to renew the creep tumors over here, the ones that he lost. He doesn't have an active tumor over him here, but if like Polt is able to just set himself up over there, he's not just pushing towards the fort base, he's standing basically inside your natural, and that's really bad because 2 out of the 3 macro hatches, or 2 out of the 3 hatches that he's producing units of, will come via the main base, and then it's going to be so difficult for Elazer to regroup his units. So I would really love to see him renew those tumors on the north side of the map.
Good little move from Elazer to leave some of those units back towards that 4th base. Banelings come in once again. They should be all cleaned up before losing too much at all. 2 workers did end up dying. So 53 workers against 75 at the moment. Elazer feels a little bit comfortable by the looks of things. He's really brought the fight to Polt here in game number 2.
Yep, and he's getting his 2-2 upgrades this time as well. Even +2 flyer attacks on the way for the Mutalisk. That's something that last game he couldn't have even dreamed of. Not in his wildest dreams was he ever able to find the resources for that. And that just shows that Elazer has done a lot of things right. But we also know Polt in games like this, like, don't count him out just yet. He's actually up in army supply. He has +3 attack on the way. He doesn't feel rich enough to start +3 armor at the same time.
I mean, we saw how difficult it was here even for TLO in a game where he was massively ahead to finish off Polt. Never mind a game where Polt is still how he is right now. And another volley onto those Mutalisks. You've got to be so careful.
Of course, the Mutalisk regeneration is quite okay compared to most units, but those shots did hurt, and it's definitely like a warning sign for Elazer. Be very careful. There are so many rocks, by the way. I get really paranoid when I see a lot of Banelings and a lot of rocks, especially with the amount of destructible plates we've seen being attacked throughout the day. Like, with a few Zerglings, that's not too bad, but if you have 30 Banelings rolling into rocks in the middle of the map, and I truly hope I'm not jinxing him right now, but I would love to see maybe some Mutalisks take it out.
That would be a bit of a disaster, you're right. So hopefully that does not occur. But now Polt's army over to the right-hand side has really gathered a lot of speed. It is maxed out. Even somehow these Lings got in, but Polt will clean that over to the reinforcements.
Yeah, good job so far. I mean, like, with these positions, it's very hard for Polt. That's why I think it's so smart for Elazer to take that base far away from the Terran. But this is also that scenario that I mentioned earlier. Now, suddenly he's in a position that's very close to the natural. Elazer is not going to give him any time at all. He just rolls in with all of the Banelings, got reasonable connections. The Mutalisks were not even here, and he's winning the fight.
2 of those foes have to get picked up and retreated on out, and he doesn't really have that much bio left here now at all. 26 Marines, they have to come on forward. This could be okay still. The Banelings actually got in on a lot of that bio. Can the Mutalisks finish all of this up? There's still quite a few Marines below all of this, and they should be able to shred up quite a lot of those Mutas.
I think once again Elazer got a little overeager there. Like, the start of that fight went phenomenal for him, even without the Mutalisk, but so far away from his own hatchery, so close to the reinforcements of Polt. When there is a bunker in the mix over there as well, it's very risky to take fights like that. Elazer is going up to Hive right now. He has some money in the bank, but if you take a look at his gas bank, he's not incredibly rich.
Yeah. Is that a little bit eager here for Elazer to go to Hive as he is right now?
I mean, he's a very ambitious Zerg. That's what we see with these like
True.
counter-attacks as well, in which he often overextends a little bit. Finds a Widowmine over there. That poor Marauder never had a chance. I mean, I do think it's a little bit overeager, but if he's able to get away with it, then it will be great.
We'll see.
He keeps doing this, by the way. Like, he pretends like he wants to retreat, and then he always turns around, hoping that Polt is not paying attention. And he's getting actually reasonable trades over here.
Lynx went for the counter-attack. They're not only in the natural, but also going into the main base. And he just he didn't really have that much any gas for Banelings. And actually, Polt just stimmed in the middle of nowhere with the majority of his army for absolutely no reason.
These Zerglings are ravaging the economy of Polt right now. Let's not forget, Polt does not have 4 command centers. He doesn't have 4 orbital commands. So SCVs actually do mean something. He only has 42 left. Elazer's taking a fight off creep over here, but he gets pretty healthy connections. Should just back off right now. He has used all of his Banelings. He has 11 more Banelings defensively. Like, I'm a little bit worried. Like, Elazer should just, like, as a Letot would say, take a chill pill right now. Like, hey man, you've been doing great. There are a lot of things going your way. You're a Hive. But right now, stop taking fights off creep and force Polt to take some sort of a bad engagement. Because right now, you're not the one who is supposed to make something happen. It's probably Polt. You're on 4 bases. He's on 3. So, like, let's try to get a good engagement right now.
I think Polt knows, though, with the amount of economy he has to really do something. It's 3-2 upgrades for him, and his army supply is dwarfing what we're seeing here from Elazer so far. He doesn't have that many Banelings, and he doesn't have a huge amount of lava to start pumping away a ton more Zerglings. He needs huge amounts. This is a really, really strong army here for Polt. Banelings are going to come through. They actually connected with some of the force at the front, got a little bit towards the Marines, but there's not that many Zerglings left over here to tank for the Mutas.
I think it's still maybe enough, though, for Elazer, at least for now. Polt still has a very healthy army supply lead, but at least he got a couple of okay connections. Oh my god, Polt's army supply is 91 right now.
He lost like 14 Mutas throughout these last couple of engagements, and he's down to 6 with a few more being replenished now, yes, but still doesn't have that 7th and 8th gas guys that Funker has pointed out quite a few times now.
Yeah. Widowmines maybe do a little bit of friendly fire over here. Nope, not today. They are not going to shoot. And now Polt's just knocking on the front door of Elazer.
He has nothing.
Yeah.
He has no Banelings.
He has nothing, Cloris.
There's a few more Banelings coming in from left and from the bottom, but I don't know if it's going to be enough. He manages to clean this up. The Widowmines, though, are still here and very, very apparent as they will kill off a few of those Zerglings down to the bottom.
I mean, Polt is super committed to this push, but I think it's going to be enough for Polt, the reigning champ. He had to work very hard for it. I really, those Widowmines doing a little bit of friendly fire. And I really felt that Elazer played an excellent game over here, and he was in the driver's seat. But like you said, he got a little overeager, got a little too ahead of himself.
It was a nice attempt here, but so far, Elazer is crumbling under this aggression that we're seeing here from Polt. But this was one of his best opportunities to try and finish off this game.
Right now, this is going to be very difficult.
Very.
The only Banelings that he has right now, they need to have the magical connections. They need to clean up pretty much everything over here, and that's just not going to happen.
There you go. GG Polt, the reigning champion of the World Championship Series, is able to move on to the round of 16. It was a bumpy road, but he got there in the end of the round of 32.
Definitely had to work hard for that one, though. I think Elazer can be very proud of like the way he has played throughout the day, and even in this series has shown us, you know, with a few tweaks, like you said it, I think in the start of the game, maybe a little rough around the edges. Sometimes he gets a little reckless, gets maybe a little too ahead of himself. Maybe the excitement kicks in, you know, like we are just sitting here, we're just watching the game, we're having a good time. But if you're a player, it's like, oh my god, I'm actually going to do this. You know, it's going to go to game 3, because I really felt that he was in control of that game. But a few times just like taking fights a little too far off creep, and also then going up too high, you don't really have the gas to, you know, get those 3-3 upgrades or to get whatever you're going for high for. That you know, maybe just still like needs to be polished a little more, but he definitely left one hell of an impression on me.
I'm sure we'll be seeing Elazer once again here in the Premier League, no doubt, after showing us a great performance against not only Showtime in Challenger League, but also Major, and even in some of these games later on. I think we'll definitely be seeing him again.
No, I can't wait to see more of him, and I think he can be very proud. He's made a lot of money already. I think $4,500 just making it to the round of 32, and I think this will only fuel the fire for him. He's going to play a lot more, and I think it's very cool as well to see, like, especially after Poland, like very early on in Wings of Liberty, they had a lot of top players. You know, like remember the Zerg, like Paranoid and stuff, and then they kind of faded away, and now we've got a newer generation of Polish players coming up again, and it's really cool to see someone like Elazer going from just a good ladder player in in 2014 to one of the better Zergs in Europe in 2015, because the fight that he put up today, well, not many Zergs could. But of course, we got to praise our champion as well, Polt. It wasn't easy for him. He had to work so incredibly hard. I think I don't think he has ever struggled this much in the run of 32. He really had to work for it today. Even in WCS America back then, when the regions were still separated, sometimes he had Koreans in his group in the round of 32, and it never really shook too much. Like, it was always just another day at the office. Today, Polt had to work very hard for it, but the champ is still alive.
Yes, he is. And let's hear from that man himself over at the analysis desk with Mr. Apollo. It is Polt.
Thank you very much, Cloris and Rotterdam. Joined here with Pig and, of course, Polt, our second place finisher. You're going to Canada. It probably wasn't the way that you thought or wanted to go through this group in second place, but first place, taken away by that guy over there. But second is yours. You're still going to Toronto, Canada. How are you feeling knowing that you're going over there, you're competing for your fourth title up there, and it's going to be a good event?
Every time I do interview, I think everyone says it was not easy. Like last season's round of 32, it was not easy. Round of 16, and every round was not easy. And it's same, but I'm still alive. I'm in the tournament, and I'm going to make it to the finals, and we'll get another trophy.